There are no such things as limits or obstacles, only opportunities. Step into the greatest version of yourself because what you do matters. Shift your narrative. You're listening to Opportunity Makers, where entrepreneurs come to take their purpose-driven business to the next level. Here's your host, Jim Padilla.
Hey, welcome back to the Opportunity Makers podcast. Jim Padilla here, and always so glad that you stopped by. And, you know, in the Opportunity Makers conversations that we're always having, we're looking at world-class leaders, people who've done big things in the marketplace, people who've scaled and exited, people who are just playing game at a bigger level. They tend to see the world a little bit differently. And just doing everything I can to bring you a different lens to look at the marketplace through every day, a different lens to look at the world, a different way to see things so that it's not about problems. It's not about inflation and restrictions in the marketplace. It's about opportunities to serve people. And the more problems that exist, the more ways there are to serve and the more problems that there are to solve, simply, AKA opportunities. And the conversation that we're having today is with a good friend of mine, Rey Perez, and he is known as a global branding expert, as a world-class brander. And I promise you, speaking for him firsthand, he's world-class at what he does. But this conversation isn't about branding as much as it is about finding new ways to be of service in the marketplace, finding new ways to create opportunities and solve problems for the people that you care about. And this is about being philanthropic, about being a socially responsible, socially conscious entrepreneur, and not just serving out of profit that is made, but being the leading edge, letting your service, letting your philanthropy, letting your social causes lead the way and create the opportunities for your business. And there's a lot of good insight and wisdom here, things that you'll take some great nuggets from it. And I just want to encourage you, hopefully this can tip the scales for you and find another way for you to show up powerfully and vulnerably with true purpose and cause and a sense of real, what's the word I'm looking for? Fulfillment, real fulfillment in your business, and being able to ensure that people really see your heart, your cause, why you do what you do, and so that they can line up and want to do the things that you do because they believe in it as well. Instead, then you get to a place where you don't have to start convincing people anymore to buy from you. And you have people lining up at the door wanting to be part of your cause and your mission. Can't wait for you to dig in and learn more about it. And tell me what you think. I want to hear some feedback. Make sure that you're connecting with me in the show notes. Like this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. Pick one of them. Don't do all of them. Just pick one. You want to rate and review it? Awesome. I'd super appreciate that. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to be notified as the new episodes come out every week on Thursdays, as we have not missed and don't in planning on missing. And we are going to be ramping up the volume because we have another podcast that we're launching, our Sales Team Ready podcast. Make sure that you're checking that out because that is specifically around sales and scaling strategies with marketplace experts. And soon to be coming out is our Christian Men in Business, Men in Action podcast that we're going to be sharing a lot more about purpose, cause, and philanthropy in the marketplace. So we appreciate you being here. Enjoy the episode, and I look forward to hearing from you. All right, everybody. So awesome to have you back here. And you just heard all the formal introduction, the bio, and all of that. But now hear from my good friend, my man Rey, the man himself. And as you can see, he's looking a little bit different these days than your standard entrepreneur is as they're conquering the world. He's actually literally in a place of moving throughout the world, conquering the world right now, and changing the way that he is doing business and life. And so, Rey, why don't you take a quick minute and just tell people who, your words, who you are, and where are you right now, and why?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jim, for inviting me to be on the podcast. I truly appreciate it. And I am in a place right now of transition in my life and in my business, and I'm physically in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and I'm taking a mini sabbatical from my business to kind of restructure, reframe, and reposition our focus in what it is that we do in the area of branding and marketing for entrepreneurs. I'm known as the #1 global branding expert when you go to Google and you type in global branding expert. You're going to see my face, my videos, my websites, everything pop up all on page 1 and page 2. And it's something that I've been very focused on for the last decade. And as I've been going through my personal entrepreneur journey, and I've had different levels of successes that I've reached in my business, both financially and both accomplishment driven, I realized that even though it's amazing to make a lot of money and have lots of nice cars and penthouses and all that kind of stuff, in the end of the day, it's temporary and it's not really self fulfilling. And one of the things that I've started doing in my own business is shifting the perspective of what drives us. And I went from just like making money, hitting our goals, KPIs, and just, always just business driven and focused to more purpose and impact focused. And that's something that's really important to me. And that's kind of why I'm on this little sabbatical journey to kind of really figure out what is it that I want to do in life, not just to make money, but that I want to do in life that makes me fulfilled from the inside, makes me have purpose, makes me have my passion and my drive. And historically, it's all been around the area of personal branding for entrepreneurs, their brands, and their businesses, whether it's graphic design, whether it's social media, web development, landing pages, funnels, videos, events, talk shows, you name it. That's what our agency does. But now it's like, how do we do that to support entrepreneurs to make more impact and really live out their God fulfilled purpose in life?
Yeah, amen. And example is that for those watching on the video, this is part of the branding packages that Ray's team has done for us, as well as our website and many of our assets. And you'll notice it's not just about branding; it's about bringing us to the forefront, and it's about really integrating who we are into the business. And Ray's still, you're exhibiting that right now. It's just you're just shifting who you are now. And so you're bringing your purpose, your impact, your philanthropy front and center, and then letting the
Correct.
business fall behind it.
Exactly. And it's interesting because, you know, look, we all have brands. Whether we choose to promote it or we choose to work on it or not is a different story. But we all have a brand, and the brand is based on what people say about you when you're not in the room. And obviously, I do a whole 3-day workshop where I teach on how to build your brand identity from the visuals to the verbal and the value. But we all have a brand, and that brand can evolve over time based on your purpose and your drive. And for me personally, that's something that's really made a difference. I used to always wear custom suits and vests and the whole nine, and now I'm wearing like cabal,
Mhm.
like beads, and I'm wearing, and it's interesting. But I've gotten to a point where like I'm not worried about that anymore because I've achieved a certain level of success. I've done that all. I accomplished it. So, my advice to any listener or viewer is as you're growing, as you're scaling, you will go through phases. You will go through different areas. It's not the same for everyone. And always remember, it doesn't matter how much money you're making or how big your business is. Everyone is going through different levels in their business. Someone can make more money, but have less influence, or someone can have a lot more influence, but maybe making a lot less money in their business. One is not better than the other. One is not good or bad. It's not wrong or right. But you have to understand that as you're growing and scaling, it's not just about making money. As you grow your influence, you can do so much more than just make money. You can make a difference. You can make an impact. You can create causes. You can create organizations. You can create support groups. And that's something that I've realized that if you are making money in your business, you are doing well financially, you might want to consider starting to invest a little bit in your personal brand so that you also can increase your influence. And you see a lot nowadays, Jim, with these quote unquote influencers, right? It's become an actual thing like celebrity has been in the past. The new celebrity is an influencer. That's the new terminology with our social media world that we now live in. So the way you dress, the way you look, the way, all of this starts to evolve as your purpose and your drive and your focus in your business does as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned a minute ago that you can do more than just make money. Um, so it is not an either or. It is both, because if you truly want to make the greatest amount of impact, then you do need to be fiscally responsible in your business and earn revenue so that you have more resource and more choice that you can do. And then you can really put that to work for you, whether it's building wells in the Congo, building orphanages in Appalachia, or anything else that you're focusing on. Like with us, it's all about, we're, our opportunity cities and working with inmates and ex-cons and really, wiping out and eradicating recidivism. And I learned that the more I talk about that publicly, the more people are interested in it. And there's a lot of people that want to help, and our service is important in what we do. But when they hear that, people really want to get on board. They want to get behind it because they know it's truly impacting great things in the world. And everybody's got some purpose or cause, and I know that's where you're leaning in. You're really leaning heavy on socially conscious businesses. And so, talk, what does that look like, and how do people have to have a certain level of status before, I know that people are thinking that, well, once I make my money and once I do this, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to highlight our socially conscious business partnership program in just a moment. But it is true, there is no level of financial success you need to have, or status, to be able to be on path and purpose and to be a giver. Like, I believe, like, we should start as that. And, like, even if you go all the way back to the Bible, right? Like the wealthy people used to come and give their money, and then the peasant lady who only had 2 pence came and gave one. Well, that's like half of everything she has. It might be less than what the rich person gives, but it's still comparable, is 10 times more. So, I think once you're a giver, you're always a giver. I think if someone says, "Oh, I don't have the money, I'll give when I have the money," they're never going to, because if you can't give now, what difference does it make if you have more? Um, but from a business perspective, I truly believe that it's so much more valuable to lead with purpose than to lead with finance. So what we started shifting about 5 years ago in our company was, instead of having a company financial year goal that we wanted to set, instead we shifted to creating a financial charity goal that we wanted to give. So we want to donate $100,000 in cash. And then we also say how much in services, because there's a difference between donating 100,000 in services and 100,000 in cash. One's not better than the other, but they're different. And it's important you clarify that, right? So we have a $100,000 cash donation goal. Well, we take 10% out of everything and we give it back. So, and that's separate than what I tied to the church. So we need to make $1 million if we want to give 100,000. So it's very different to say our goal is to make $1 million, because our commitment this year is that we want to give $100,000 back to charities. So what I chose to do a few years ago was to create my own charity. Not because I wanted to have my own charity, but because I wanted to give my entrepreneurial clients an easier way to give back, to become a socially conscious business. So my nonprofit is called Influence with Love. And the reason I call it Influence with Love is because I truly believe, as your level of influences raises in the world, you want to leverage and use that influence with love to do good things, right? Because you could use that influence for negative things as well. And in addition to influencing with love, because my business on the world of branding and marketing is all about creating more influence for our clients, right? That's like what we do as a business. I said, well, I'm telling my entrepreneurs that they should be giving back, that it is a benefit not only to them, but to their marketing. What if I just gave them an opportunity of how to do it? So it makes it easier for them. And that's where our nonprofit came out. And we support underprivileged youth. We teach them entrepreneurship skills. We mentor them. We don't just serve in the United States. We serve all over the world. We've been here in Mexico, Guatemala. We've been in Samana, Dominican Republic. We've been in Colombia, and multiple locations across the United States. And we're serving youth and children. And I wanted a way that every entrepreneur client that either works with me, is my client, or has interaction with me, whether through my TV interviews, my radio shows, my podcast interviews that I'm doing right now with you, anywhere that they see me, they can have an opportunity to give back and receive, because it goes back to the Bible. The best way to receive is through giving. So I said, what if I can allow entrepreneurs to give back to our nonprofit organization and receive marketing materials and content that they can use for their business to show the world that they're socially conscious, to show that when someone buys their products or services or supports their business, they're also supporting a good cause. So it's not just giving back to the nonprofit, it's also receiving marketing content, which has a monetary value to it. People pay me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for marketing. So I said, what if I can get them to donate, do a good thing, and receive marketing assets that they can use for their business? They can use it as a tax write-off, and they can use it as a marketing budget as well, so that they're benefiting themselves while they benefit the kids. And that's why we launched our socially conscious business partnership program, allowing entrepreneurs the opportunity to give back, makes it super easy for them, but also receive. We have a point system. They can give with their time, their talent, or their treasure. It's not all about financial commitment. They can donate their services, they can donate their time, and we acquire points between those three, whether it's your time, talent, or treasure, or all three, or a combination of all three. You get points. Once you hit a certain level of points, it unlocks this marketing content that they can use for their businesses, from having a seal on their website or their email marketing to having promo videos, social media posts. We even have, when they get to a certain level, we have this big check that we write how much they've donated so far, and they get to take a picture with the big check. And then we create social media posts and a whole email marketing campaign to show the world that this business is conscious. They've given back $5,000 into charity, and that puts them in a light that supports them, but they're also giving back to the kids. Does that make sense?
That's super cool. It's super cool. It's not exactly a trend, but I'm starting to see other companies really catch on to this. It's a really good way to do, we used to call it a GTE give back, gain the edge give back at our events. You donate towards the cause that we are supporting, and then that unlocks a service that we can provide for you, so that you're gaining some, even if you're only doing this for the selfish motive, if you want the service, that's great, because you're getting a greater value in return than what you're going to give out anyway.
Exactly. I started in my 3-day event called the Business Growth Bootcamp. I give out what's called digital dollars. And it basically gives people the opportunity to use these digital dollars towards our branding and marketing services. So what I would do at every single one of my events is that I would give people the opportunity to donate to influencewithlove.org up to $1,000. And I would match whatever amount of donation they chose to give to the charity. I would match it in digital dollars. So basically, if they wanted to use our services anyway, they were going to pay for it, they can just make a donation and then they can use the services. And that's what I mean by you can donate your time, talent, or treasure. So my talent in branding and marketing is my service. I can donate my service, and that allows me to raise money for charities. So we give our clients the opportunity to do the same. They can donate their services. Other clients can donate to get those services they would have paid for anyway. And now it's benefiting the good charity as well. And it's a win-win for everyone, because then the person who provided the service gets the marketing content to use for their business. So it's win-win-win, all three.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think everybody wants to give. Everybody knows deep down that that's what lights them up. That's where your fulfillment comes from. And I think too many times everybody feel like they have to have some big charity or get their own 501(c) going, but there's a lot of ways to be able to partner up and sync up with other people who are already doing the work. And maybe your $1,000 or $100, well, it's incredible, and whatever you could donate. But if that can be a part of somebody else's bigger contribution that can do more with it than just, what's the saying that, anything's possible in the world if you don't care who gets the credit. So as long as you were able to just contribute in some small way towards something that's already in motion, you can just sit back and say, yeah, man, I made that happen. I was part of that. They're like Tony Robbins, like his goals aren't, his contribution goals aren't monetary. They're family. How many families am I going to feed this year? 1 million families, or 100,000 families, or whatever. Obviously it takes money, but that's all. And it all sets revenue goals. but you can contribute in a small portion, and all of a sudden you're helping to feed families around the world,
You
right?
got it. It's exactly the concept.
So how does let's kind of pivot a little bit on that, but with that same concept, what's the mindset and the perspective? Because one thing we talk about on the Opportunity Makers podcast is that at the end of the day, the more people you help, the more compensation comes. It's just byproduct of doing good typically. So what is the mindset and the perspective as you are moving through the world and shifting in a perspective of, obviously, if you're doing philanthropy, then it's all about service. And so how do you do that in a way without compromising generating revenue, still being a good financially responsible business owner, but leading with service? Like, what's the thought process there? What do you have to do to get yourself from worrying about chasing leads and chasing clients?
That's a great question, because the reality is there could be the mindset of, if I'm focusing on charity or giving back and doing this, and I'm not focusing on my business, and that can cost me revenue. And it is a possibility. But I will say this: I think in business and in life, and being financially successful, a good portion of it has to do with what it is that you're doing, the skill set that you have. But I think the bigger portion of it is the mindset that you carry. Because I truly do believe what Henry Ford said, which is, whether you think you can or you can't, either way, you're right. Uh, I 100% solely believe in the law of attraction. Whatever you think about, whatever you focus on, whatever you give energy, is exactly what you're going to get. So I believe that if you focus on your philanthropy, and you believe that by doing good in the world, and by doing something that's more purpose driven and impactful, you're going to impact more lives, and you're going to bring more revenue, then I believe that's going to happen. Now, if you worry about that it's not going to happen, then I believe that's probably not going to happen for you. And I know it's kind of like, yeah, watch The Secret again, right? But I've experienced it in my own life, and I've experienced many other clients and mentors and coaches and business partners do the same thing. So I think number one is focusing on your mindset, having a growth mindset instead of a limited mindset. Number two is having good structure. I do believe having a good structure for what you do is always beneficial. Why? Because everything that I do with my socially conscious business partnership program, everything I do with my nonprofit, ties back to my business. Because I talk about what I'm doing purpose driven, but I'm also letting people know what I do for a living in my business, as I talk about what my purpose and goal. So I'm not just sitting here only talking about the charities and nonprofits. I tie everything together. And I think it's very important to have a structure where you're on path and purpose, you're doing something good, but you're still connecting what produces your revenue and what grows your business. The connection is very important. And then three, I think it's really where your heart lies. I think, if you really care and you're not just doing it from a marketing perspective or a business perspective, I do believe that energy is felt. I do believe that people's sincerity, their passion, their integrity, I believe that goes through. And I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, think you're going to attract the right customers, the customers that, number one, have the same heartfelt cause and direction, and they're going to be connected to you because of that art energy that you have. I believe that there's more traction in this frequency than in any marketing material or content you could ever have. And I believe that grows tribes, it grows followers, and it grows a lot of referrals and introductions, because people love to introduce someone that they know, that's a friend or family member, colleague, to someone that's doing good in the world. They want to do that. So the more you're doing good, the more people want to highlight you. They want you to be on more podcasts. They want you to come speak at their event, come to their office. They want to share you with people. So I think the combination of those three is what is, a good outline of how to still be successful in the business while you're being on path and purpose with your charity.
Yeah, it's something that I think we know it intuitively, but I think it bypasses people because I think if it looks more complicated than it needs to be. And when you are It's all about like Simon Sinek said, it's people like us do things like this. And if you share, here's who I am, then you're going to attract all the people who think that's a great thing or see themselves as somebody who does that too. And they want to be
Got it.
a part of something bigger than themselves. So just you start, and it's interesting because one of the things that I hear so much in marketing and sales these days, you got to learn to speak the language of your buyer and you got to speak their words and all that. And I've come to experience and see the results of not exactly like that. I think it's more right now. It's you just be the best version of yourself, and you'll attract the people who resonate. And then the heck with the rest. If they instead of trying to be target like who's my ideal client, how do I get into Ray's mind? How do I talk Ray's language? How do I? No, I just share me, and if Ray likes me, Ray's going to want me.
You're going to attract the right people. Agreed. That actually happened with religion, like being able to like be openly sharing my faith, my Christianity within my business. Some people feel like, oh, if you do that, you're going to lose some people. Well, in the beginning, 15 years ago, I felt that way. But now I realized I'm not going to lose anybody. I'm going to attract the people that I want to attract. I'm going to attract the exact people that are in alignment with me. And the ones that aren't, I don't want to work with anyway. So everything's perfect.
So what's the big opportunity unfolding for you? I know as you're still kind of in this process, you're on a sabbatical. What do you see big emerging for you in 2024 to be able to really make this philanthropy and socially conscious business movement take off?
Well, first and foremost, I'm writing my fourth book, and it's called Scaling the Mountain of Success, The Spiritual Journey of an Entrepreneur to Reach a Million. And this book is probably going to be one of my best books. And it's my journey of how I've gotten to a level of reaching seven figures and realizing that there's more to life than just making money and having fancy things. And the sabbatical that I'm doing, when I get back in January, I will write the final piece, which is my experience after these 2.5 months of traveling and really focusing on building a business that is more purpose driven than financial driven. And even though I've been doing everything I'm talking about, it hasn't been like the number one thing that I've led with. It's been a purpose, it's been a portion, it's been something that's been a part of it. It hasn't been the thing. So, really, what's next for me is to solely lead with giving, with philanthropy through my socially conscious business. And that will be the forefront of everything I do. And the branding, the marketing, the video production services, the agency will be behind the charity, the nonprofit, the socially conscious business. And that's the new business model that I want to shift into over the next 2.5 months.
Awesome. So 2024 is going to be amazing. How do other people participate with you?
Well, the best way to connect with me is on my personal site, rayperez360.com. This is also one of my companies. It's a SaaS company, a software that I created to connect entrepreneurs together, to put all your stuff in one place. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching the recording, when you go to rayperez360.com, there's going to be a contact button in the top right-hand corner. If you click the contact button, it says send text. Send me a text with your full name, your best email, and tell me that you heard me on Jim's podcast, the Opportunity Makers podcast, and I will send you my entire live presentation on how to attract more leads and increase sales through the power of building your personal brand. And I will give you my entire lead capture script verbatim with all my tools and strategies. All you got to do is just send me your full name, best email, put that send text. Let me know you're on this podcast. And that's my gift to any listener that is listening to this interview today.
Awesome. So I can tell you, I vouch for you. I mean, obviously, I've been blessed to be able to interview a lot of people, and we've had a lot of amazing clients. I've been watching Ray on this journey for the last 5 years now, and he's living it. Everything it's like he's just literally walking through it, and just to see him right now, he literally just walked away from this beautiful, incredible penthouse in Miami that oversees just one of the greatest views that I've ever seen. His incredible cars and toys and hobbies, and just really going all in on purpose first. Purpose first, and not giving up making money, but just leading with purpose. And it changes who you're known for. That's really the thing here. It's like, do you want to be known as somebody who's a great business expert? That's awesome. That's a good start. But you want to be known as somebody who's changing the world? That moves the needle massively, and that changes everything, and that brings fulfillment, purpose, and allows you to still grow your business. So lean into this. This is something that's not going to be, I think this is going to be a big trend. And I believe that right now it's an advantage in your business. And pretty soon, I think it's just going to be necessary, because that's how business is going to be done.
Yep. I agree. 100%.
All right. So go see Rey Perez 360. And as always, anything you need from me, any questions, any feedback, go to Jim P360, scan the code that's there if you're watching, and let us know. We want feedback. We want to know how this is resonating with you, what your takeaways are from this, and who else do you want to see on the podcast, so that we can get behind the scenes on what's going on with them and share with you all of the opportunities that exist. And remember that every single problem, every single thing that is discouraging you, everything you are worried about, stressed about, concerned about, is nothing but a sea of opportunities, problems waiting to be solved. And you've got this, and we've got you. So thanks as always for trusting us to be part of your success team and being here when you could literally be any place else on the planet. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Opportunity Makers. Head on over to gaintheedgenow.com to connect with Jim and his team. And remember, there's no such thing as limits or obstacles, only opportunities.